Welcome to the show, getting you ready for another Notre Dame football home weekend. The Fighting Irish hosting NC State tomorrow afternoon, 3:30 at Notre Dame Stadium. The game day coverage begins at 11 tomorrow. They will be out at the linebacker from 11 tomorrow morning until 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. Tim, Jim, Eric, and Tyler will all be there. Chris Zorich and Ian Book are among the guests they've got lined up. So join them at the linebacker, and of course, right here on Sports Radio 960 WSBT and the Sports Radio 960 WSBT live streaming app. So we've kind of what we've done the last few weeks, especially going into a home weekend when there's a home game. We've had kind of a recruiting update with Bryan Driskell, our man from IrishBreakdown.com, and he is here with us today since we've got a home weekend. How are you, Mr. Driskell? Are you fired up, ready for another home game?
I am, and I'm an offensive guy, Sean. I'm a former quarterback, and there's going to be two outstanding quarterbacks on the field on Saturday. Well, I should rephrase that.
Okay.
There's always multiple outstanding quarterbacks at Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's got Kenny Minchie and Blake Heber. But I mean, the two starting quarterbacks in this game are both outstanding, and I'm looking forward to watching them both play.
Absolutely. Well, we all love good quarterback play. That's for sure. A couple of CJs, as a matter of fact. CJ Carr for Notre Dame, of course, and CJ Bailey for North Carolina State. We'll see how that game plays out tomorrow. Well, kind of a light recruiting weekend, really, for Notre Dame. It sounds like, Brian, there are a couple of big names, I think, who are going to be on campus. Who are maybe the names that we need to know coming into this weekend that are going to be here?
Well, it's going to be a little bit of a smaller weekend, Sean, because Notre Dame has really pushed a lot of the top 27 kids into the Texas A&M and then the USC games next weekend, and they're really trying to get in on some big time players that maybe they want to give a little bit more attention to. One example of that would be Albert Simeon, who's coming in from Louisiana, a big time offensive lineman in the 2027 class. He'll be on campus with 3 commits. So not a coincidence that Ben Nichols, Sullivan Garvin, and Tyler Merrill are going to be on campus this weekend with him. A couple other 27 kids, Kalel Johnson from Moeller and Mason Wilt from Ohio, from St. Clairsville, both also be in campus. But Albert Simeon's really the big name to watch there. And there's some 28 kids on campus this weekend as well. Nate Dollard, Langston Pridgeon are a couple cornerbacks from the 28 class from the Southeast area, the Virginia, North Carolina area, which Notre Dame is certainly trying to have more effectiveness in. And then there's a 28 interior defensive lineman to keep an eye on. Kellen Hall from Kentucky is a guy to keep an eye on. But really the big name, Sean, the name to really keep an eye on this weekend is a young man named Amari Irvin, who's a linebacker from IMG Academy. He's from South Florida. Mm-hmm. Irvin, he's the son of Cedric Irvin, the former standout at Michigan State, and he's also the younger brother of Cedric Irvin Jr., who was a one-time Notre Dame commit, ended up at Stanford's, currently on Stanford's roster. But he's on campus this weekend. Notre Dame has done a great job with him, built a strong relationship. He loves Max Bulla. We have an update on the premium message board from Sean Davis talking to him, but loves Max Bulla, loves Marcus Freeman, really likes how Notre Dame uses their linebackers. So that's a kid that I think Notre Dame's going to really try to make a move on this weekend, and I think they're in a good position to maybe have some success coming out of that one here in the near future. If things go well this weekend, that is.
Excellent. Yeah, your name or your ears kind of perk up when you hear that name, that Urban name attached to it. So
good and bad, because he's got talented kids, but then also you start thinking back to
exactly
where he was putting up numbers against Notre Dame back in the day. But
right,
it is an interesting one though, Sean, because remember, Notre Dame dropped Cedric Irvin Jr. when Marcus Freeman took over as head coach, and he hired Dylan McCullough. And so when you hear Amari come along, you're like, well, that's probably not going to go well. But the relationship's been strong. Notre Dame was honest in their communication. I think looking back, the family respects that Notre Dame was honest with them. And then looking back too, they're like, well, they ended up getting Jeremiah Love instead of Cedric. So
yeah,
I think it worked out well. Cedric's going to get a degree from Stanford, and Notre Dame got Jeremiah Love. So
exactly.
But it's a great family and a strong family. They believe in academics. Obviously, the older brother's at Stanford. The younger brother really likes Notre Dame. These are kids that were raised to appreciate being excellent in football and academics. So it's a really good fit. But it is an interesting dynamic when you think about just that relationship.
All right, so we've got a few questions stacked up here in the YouTube chat. There's some from earlier this week. Vince and I did a mailbag, and there were a couple recruiting questions that came in and I said, I'm going to save these for Driskell on Friday. So here's the first. This is kind of a 3-tiered thing. So it starts with, based on the improvements to the passing game visible with CJ Carr, how do you attack one quarterback recruiting? Do you try to change current guys or just focus on 2028?
I think they'll focus on 2028. I mean, in 2026, they've already have Noah Grubbs committed over for a year. I think he's a top 100 caliber talent. So you're not going to want to move on from him. And then 2027, you have what some scouting services believe is the #1 quarterback in the country in Teddy Gerard, who's a top 50 caliber talent. So you've already landed big time quarterbacks in 26 and 27, even before the pass game took off.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact that Mike Denbrock had the success he had with Jaden Daniels at LSU, right. Notre Dame's been able to sell the vision of what the pass game will become. And then you combine that with the on-field success. So I think what it does, Sean, more so with the 26 and 27 classes is it solidifies in the mind of Noah Grubbs and Teddy Gerard that, yeah, these coaches aren't selling me a line of you-know-what.
Right.
They are going to move in this direction with a more balanced offense. So I think that's the impact for 27. Now this allows them to go after 28, Sean. And look, it's very early in 2028, and kids develop. Some kids have already reached their peak. Some kids aren't. But from what we know of it now, it is a loaded quarterback class. And Notre Dame they're going to be big game hunting in that class.
Okay. For sure. All right. So again, starting with the improvements in the passing game from CJ Carr, how do you then also go after wide receiver recruiting? He says, do you go after the kid committed to Clemson?
I don't think that you really worry about receiver recruiting in 2026. And the kid the one kid that everybody kind of talks about looking at Clemson is not even the guy from Clemson that I would go after. A lot of people talk about, going after, there's a kid from Clemson that committed that a lot of people thought Notre Dame was going to have a chance at this past year, Connor Solomon, who's a big, tall, fast kid. But if I'm going to try to flip a kid from Clemson, it's Naeem Burrows. I mean, that's who I'd try to flip. But Notre Dame's already got 5 commits in the class. They landed a top 100 player in Caden Finley. Braden Robinson's having a big year. Devin Fitzgerald's having a big year. Bubba Frazier's having a big year. And Dylan Faison's obviously a guy that the staff's very high on as well. His older brother happens to lead the current team in receptions and receiving yards. So I think they're pretty happy with the Faison. So I think what you do, Sean, is more so focus on the studs in the 27 class, which is what Notre Dame is doing. They've already had they had all 3 of their, I think, the guys that I count as 1, 2, 3 on the board were all on campus for the Texas A&M game. And yeah, the game didn't go well for Notre Dame, but they watched CJ Carr throw for almost 300 yards against a top 5 team. And then they've seen what he's done since. Obviously that being Quentin Burrell from Chicago, Julius Jones Jr. from St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, and then Monson Sales, who's an in-state kid. All big-time players. So I think the focus right now is they're very happy with the 26 class. Very happy.
Okay.
What I think the focus is now on using the success on the field for the 2027 class.
And then the last question from this person was, how do you attack 2027 and 28 tight end recruiting?
I think it's just kind of keep doing what you're doing. 2028 is still kind of early. There is a Chicago kid that I know the staff likes a lot. His name is Jack McNamara from Brother Rice. I was joking with Sean Davis the other day, Sean. I said, if your name is Jack McNamara and you go to a Catholic school in Chicago, you can't go anywhere else other than Notre Dame. It's kind of like when Dallas Golden was coming out. You're like, dude, your last name's Golden. You kind of have to go to Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Like, exactly. So they obviously the 26 class is loaded. Notre Dame had about 6 tight ends on campus for Irish Invasion this summer. And there's a lot of guys that their staff is very high on in the 27 class. It's a very good tight end class. Yeah, if you had Jack Brown, Seneca Driver, Grant Haviland is a kid from Georgia who's very close with Teddy Gerard, who is their 2027 quarterback commit. Titus Hawk is a really literally big giant kid from Oklahoma. So Luke Brewer from Iowa. It's a very talented board. It's just kind of go after the big fish. I think the question would be, how many do you bring in? And that's going to kind of be determined by how the next year goes when it comes to, roster retention and development, things along those lines. And then with 28, it's the same thing. Like you're trying to find the best players in the country. And, that's what Notre Dame's having to do. But I don't think they've needed a improved pass game to attract tight ends, because even when they weren't throwing the ball much in 2022, the vast majority of those throws were going to the tight end. So exactly. I don't think that's as much of an issue.
USMA 87 in the YouTube chat asks, who is your must get from Brother Rice or Mount Carmel?
You can't say one, Sean. I mean, those two teams are absolutely loaded. Sean Davis, who covers recruiting for Irish Breakdown, was at that game last week. And I think he said there were 16 kids that have either been offered by, visited, or have had some sort of contact with Notre Dame.
Wow.
That's how loaded those two teams are. But look, obviously Quentin Burrell, the receiver from 2027, we've already talked about. He's from Mount Carmel. He had a big game against Brother Rice. He's an absolute stud, Sean. He's that boundary receiver, that 6'2", 6'3". He's going to be well over 200 pounds. Good, really strong route runner for his age, speed, physicality. His game has really exploded. He's an absolute must-get from one of those two schools. There's another 2027 D-tackle, Braden Parks, who's 6'3", 300 pounds, has a very close relationship with Chris Zorich. Notre Dame is all over Braden Parks. They want him in the class real bad. And he's kind of that big-bodied run stuffer, but he's also athletic that Notre Dame wants a lot more of in this defensive line rotation. He's that kind of guy that you can use to penetrate and shoot gaps, but also you can use to eat up space, which is what Notre Dame was looking for, having that dual threat interior guy. Because in the past, they've had either big guys that kind of plug space or they've had really undersized, twitchy guys. Braden Parks brings a little bit of both to the equation. There's also a 2028, and I already talked about Jack McNamara, who's the 28 tight end from there. Notre Dame recently offered a linebacker in the 2027 class from Mount Carmel. But if you want to talk about another name, you got to know, Sean, this is one that everybody's going to want to remember. Cam McGee. He's a 2028 defensive end, 6'3 plus, 230 pounds plus, super explosive, extremely highly ranked player. He's a top 50 player already in the 2028 class, Sean. He's ranked as the number 10 player in the country by Rivals. And on 3, he's ranked as number 15 player in the country by 247. He elite edge rusher, like the kind of guy that just explodes off the edge, can be an impact pass rusher. If they can add him to go with what they did in 26 and what they're hoping to do in 27, he's the kind of kid that you have to get. I mean, you can't miss when there's Stanford's looking at him. Notre Dame obviously wants him. So he's a high academic kid, but also an elite talent that I think would be a great fit at Notre Dame. He's one of those kids that say that's a bellwether recruit for that 28 class. That's the kind of guy Sean, you know how it is, man. 5-star defensive ends don't grow on trees.
Exactly.
In this area, neither do 5-star receivers. That's why Quentin Burrell is so important. It's why Braden Parks is so important. And it is definitely why Cam McGee is a must-get player for the staff. And the good news is they're on all over him. He's already visited this year once. They're going to try to get him back for another game. They have absolutely made him a huge priority in the 28 class.
If only they could just grow him in the lab and just bring him right out and you wouldn't have to worry about it. But
yeah,
they are hard to find.
Yes, they are.
As it turns out. DW9 in the YouTube chat asks, after this, quote, poorish offensive line showing so far this year, what's the word on offensive line recruiting? Are kids concerned?
Well, number one, I don't think that the recruits would agree with the premise of your question. I think the offensive line had a bad first game, a not very great second game. I think the last 3 games, Sean, they've been outstanding. They've looked like the offensive line we thought they would be. I don't think that's been an issue for them. I don't think recruits look at it that way. You've had Sullivan Garvin, I think, has been at every game so far this year. Ben Nichols has been at just about every game. Tyler Merrill's coming in again for yet another visit. But no, I look, the other thing too, Sean, I don't think, I've said this before, recruits don't usually react, especially Notre Dame recruits, don't react emotionally to every up and down of the team like fans do. Number one, and this isn't an insult, they haven't been fans of the team their whole lives like we have, know, and so there's not that same emotional investment. A lot of recruits look at struggles as like, well, wait till I get there. We won't be struggling anymore.
Exactly.
And number 3, they tend to not look at things from the same lens of, okay, you had a bad game, so let me look somewhere else. Well, where else are they going to look? I mean, Ohio State's had bad games in the O-line. Texas's O-line stinks this year. Penn State's offensive line's been up and down.
But that's what most fans
think
about.
Like, what line has been elite every week?
Every team's got their own problems, but you only think about your own team's
right.
And
right.
They obviously get magnified because you get to talk about them all week, especially when you have a bye week after the
Like Ohio State's a great team, Sean, but they've scored 14 and 24 points in the 2 good teams they've played this year. Like,
yeah.
Like kids just don't look at stuff the same way that we do. Where they're not as emotional about it. Again, that's not an insult. I love the passion of fans. It's something that you've been kind of excited about for a year. You're probably not going to be as excited about as the guy that's been, passionate about something for 25 years. It's just how it goes. But I think the offensive line commits are completely locked in, and they're watching this offensive line, 3 games in a row, rushing for over 200 yards. CJ Carr's had all day to throw the ball the last 3 games. So, I think they're probably liking what they're saying. Hopefully it can continue, but it's definitely trending in the right direction.
Coleman Smith asks, chances of a 3-man receiver haul of Jones, Burrell. Is it Burrell or Burrell?
Quentin Burrell, yeah.
Burrell. That's what I thought.
Yeah, Khalil Taylor, obviously, that's an interesting one, Sean. He is a kid from that was committed to Penn State until about 6 hours ago. Then he decommitted from Penn State. Their classes, people are thinking they're getting ready to fall apart a little bit. Keemon Spell's probably going to decommit from there as well, the 5-star running back. But I think the chances are pretty slim as of today, Coleman. I think that Notre Dame's got a great shot with Quentin Burrell. I think they've got a great shot with Julius Jones Jr. Burrell, they probably have a better shot right now than Julius, but I wouldn't be shocked if those 2 kids eventually end up in the Notre Dame class. There's a lot of work to do, but I think they're in a good place with both. Khalil Taylor's already got 3 visits set, and none of them are to Notre Dame. And then he kind of gave a list in an interview with On 3 of other schools he'd like to visit, and Notre Dame was in that list, and they weren't even first in that list. I think Indiana, was first, if I remember correctly. But they'll probably try to get on him again, but as of right now, I don't know that Notre Dame's going to be a major player for him. I think their eyes are set on some other guys as well as Khalil Taylor, but unless things change right now, I think he's the one of that trio that I wouldn't think they have a great shot at, but they're going to still keep trying and keep recruiting him, and things obviously change. If you'd have told me in January Notre Dame was going to get Javion Osborne, I'm like, okay, buddy, that's over whatever you got. But then look what happened. Once he got on campus, he fell in love, and now he's one of their most solid commits. And by the way, Javion Osborne is having a monster senior season, junior season. Oh, actually, no, senior season, as is Jonas Walton. So the running back room is going to be just fine in the future, folks, because those 2 kids are very talented. And they're having big years.
Tyler wants to know how DB recruiting's going.
Great. Obviously, the 26 class is loaded. Notre Dame is doing really well in the 27 class. They obviously recently, for the A&M game, had Josh Dobson on campus, who's a 5-star recruit. Xavier Hassan, that's a name to keep an eye on from North Carolina. He's another top 50 to 75 national recruit. Notre Dame's the team to beat for him right now. But I love where Notre Dame's at in the 27 class. But, Sean, this is why getting filled up so early with big-time players has been helpful to the staff, because since June or July, Mike Mickens' entire focus on DB recruiting has been on the 27 class. And once again, he's going after some big fish. There's another kid from Mount Carmel, Sean, that I should have brought up earlier, Tavares Harrington, 6'3" cornerback from Mount Carmel, is a teammate of Quentin Burrell, who's another guy that Notre Dame loves and would love to add to the class. He's a top 100 caliber recruit as well. So once again, Mike Mickens is doing Mike Mickens things in the 2027 class. I wouldn't be shocked if one of the next commits in the 27 class is from the defensive backfield.
All right, let me see. We got time for 1 or 2 more questions here from Andre. Who are your must-get players in this cycle? 2 offense, 2 defense.
Oh, my goodness. Well, the 2 on offense right now are easy. You've got to get, in my opinion, Quentin Burrell and Julius Jones Jr. I think those are the 2 players in 26 that you absolutely have to get. 27, there's a defensive end who's making his 2nd visit, a big-time top 25 player named David Jacobs, DJ Jacobs. He's a longtime friends of Teddy Gerard. He is an elite game-changing edge rusher. He was on campus for A&M. He's coming back for USC. When a 5-star recruit from Georgia makes a second in-campus in-season visit, that's a big thing. He's an absolute must-get on defense. And then I could give you a list of 5 guys in the secondary that I think Notre Dame needs to get. Josh Dobson being one, Xavier Hassan being one. You've got to get one of those players, in my opinion. And then the other one, as I talked about earlier, Braden Parks, a defensive tackle, would probably be my other one along with DJ Jacobs. So there's a lot of potential must-gets. But I'm going Braden Parks and DJ Jacobs and on the defensive line, one inside, one outside. You get those 2 guys, Quentin Burrell at receiver, Julius Jones at receiver. This is going to be an elite class for Marcus Freeman and his staff.
Zach wants to know, do you have a 2027 prospect crush?
Not yet. No, I always kind of have a guy or 2 here that I just kind of fall in love with. I haven't got that yet. Partly because some of the studs or some of the guys that I would otherwise fall in love with, like Julius Jones Jr., like Quentin Burrell or DJ Jacobs, are 5 stars. So everybody's kind of in love with them. But that under the radar guy like Benjamin Morrison, who I was on very early. Kyle Hamilton, I was on very early. I had him as a 5-star, and everybody else had him as a 3-star. I don't have one of those just yet, Zach. There's, but I will. Amari Irvin's close. I mean, the more I watch his film and study his film, he's 5'11", 215, not your typical linebacker, but Sean, that kid can run and he can hit. Reminds me a lot of Nakobe Dean, if you remember him from Georgia. He was like a 5'11" stud linebacker.
Yep.
That's Amari Irvin, even a little bit twitchier, reminds me a lot of Nakobe Dean. So he's a guy that I'm kind of liking, but I'm holding out. I'm playing a little hard to get this year for my recruit crush from the film standpoint, Sean.
That's our Friday Notre Dame football recruiting update with Bryan Driskell. I'll let you tell everybody where people can find all the juicy intel, whether it's about the Notre Dame football team, recruiting, and otherwise.
Well, I mean, we try to make it, Sean, as easy as possible for you. It's Irish Breakdown everywhere. YouTube channel, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go to Irish Breakdown. If you're watching live right now, you already are probably a subscriber. If you, whatever podcast platform you listen to, Apple, Spotify, whatever, just type in Irish Breakdown. It'll pop up. You'll see our IB logo on there. And then our website, our free website, we have recently signed with Roundtable Sports, which I'm really excited about. It's a brand new company that I think is just really going to take off. And so you can just go to irishbreakdown.com and you can get all our free content. I just did a breakdown of Notre Dame's pass game matchup against NC State and got some graphics and some stats. You can check that out. But of course, as always, Sean, the best way to support what we're doing at Irish Breakdown is to go to our premium message board at boards.irishbreakdown.com.
There you go. All right. Sounds great. Bryan, I will see you tomorrow. Notre Dame, NC State. Coming up next, Vince DeDario is going to join me. We're going to talk a little Notre Dame, NC State. Game coming up tomorrow, 3:30 kickoff at Notre Dame Stadium. That is on the way. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Joining the show right now, standing 5'10".
Oh.
Not quite.
I mean, I wish.
Maybe I'm just getting that short. Like I see myself in photos, and it's like, man, I am shrinking. Because I think it's all the stuff in my back and my neck. Like all the discs are just compressing.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I used to be taller than that, or at least I felt taller than that. Anyway, Vince DeDario is here.
I'm like a 5'8", 5'9", probably.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. The funny thing is, my unbelievable boss here at school is like 6'6". So yeah, I do a lot of looking up.
I used to, like in high school, I used to list myself as 5'9". I don't think they ever did official measurements or whatever, and I would just 5'9". And I don't know that I ever measured myself, but I was not 5'9". Let's just
say it may or may not say 5'10" on my driver's license. So
I think I've still got a 5'7" on mine. Hey, what's it between friends?
Right.
Exactly. All right. Well, we've got Notre Dame football coming up tomorrow at Notre Dame Stadium, 3:30 kickoff, 11 a.m. game day show with Tim, Jim, Eric, and Tyler out at the linebacker. Chris Zorich, Ian Book will be there, and you can hear both the game day show and, of course, the game here on Sports Radio WSBT. So, Vince, your confidence that Notre Dame's defense can keep it going this week, where are you on that right now?
So let's do the old scale of 1 to 10. I would say my confidence level is like a 7, 6.5, 7.
Okay.
I want to be a 9 on this.
Like, I want to believe.
I so want to believe. This is a situation where I've got 3.5 or so games of a certain kind of defense, the way it was getting called, all of the things. And I've got a game, maybe game and a half of a different kind of defense. I need more. I need at least another game before I start getting super confident that it's going to stay this way.
Yeah.
Because there's a decent chance that this was a one-game aberration. This was a Boise State specific game plan, and they're going to be back to the way that they were playing defense before. Like that's a possibility. And with the way things have gone this year, I can't dismiss that possibility, Sean. I can't do it yet. So I'm like a 6.5, 7.
That's the way it is. Yeah. I think I'm probably in the same neighborhood. I might be a 7, 7.5. So maybe just a little bit more confident. But the problem is I don't want to be, Charlie Brown having the football pulled from underneath me. And, like, to me, this is kind of the proving game for me. This is the prove it. If we see something pretty similar to what we saw against Boise State last week that continues to piggyback off what started against Arkansas, I'll be really confident about this defense for the rest of the season. We finally saw a team that played a much different kind of coverage in the secondary. Again, how much of that had to do with the fact that you had Leonard Moore and Devontae Smith back together? That probably has something to do with it. You will still have Leonard. Did I say their names right? Leonard Moore. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I didn't say Leonard Smith before.
No, you're good.
Leonard Moore. Okay. Started second guessing myself there. But you know what I'm saying. So they won't have Devontae Smith. They will still have Leonard Moore. We'll get to see a little bit more of Dallas Golden as a result. But I've kind of got to see this at least one more time, looking close to the level that we saw last week against Boise State for me to really feel secure and confident about this thing.
1,000%. If we see another game called the way it was against Boise, I'll be on board. I'll be ready to go because that's 2 games in a row, full games, seeing Notre Dame's defense out there. And you know what I mean by Notre Dame's defense, right? I mean, aggressive, up close, taking away the short stuff, all of those things, the easy access throws. If they can do that 2 games in a row, I'm back. I'm back, baby. But
I also feel like, and I'm not saying that NC State has a horrible line. They've got a solid line, but I just, like starting up front with Notre Dame's defensive line, I feel like there are a lot of matchups that Notre Dame should be able to win in this game to help the other levels behind them. And, and again, that's kind of some of the stuff that we saw against Boise State last week, where the defensive line was winning more. They were the more physical team.
Right.
And again, it just feels like Boise State, NC State, when I look at the players on the rosters of both of these teams, I think they're fairly comparable. I still feel like Boise State is the better coach team of the two. NC State is still a well-coached team, but of the two, I think that Boise State is the better coached. And, we know that, if we flip it to the other side of the ball, we know that there's going to be a defense for Notre Dame to exploit in this game. Is that your greatest confidence in this game, just Notre Dame's offense in the matchup against the Wolfpack?
100%. I mean, the defense can, I believe that the defense can have an average day and they're still going to win the game by a decent margin. I'm hoping I'm hoping I see the same defense, and then I'm hoping the offense plays more like it did the first 4 games than it did, in the last game. And again, is it splitting hairs because Notre Dame still covered the spread and they still scored 4 times and they did some good things, but they were a little off, you know what I mean? And a lot of that starts with the quarterback, and I understand that. I just don't see CJ Carr having 2 games in a row like that.
And again, we have to give some credit to Boise State's defense for being part of that, for maybe CJ Carr, some of the timing being off because of the pressures that they brought on him. I don't think that he had been pressured like Boise State pressured, like blitz type stuff specifically. He hadn't been pressured like that through the first 4 games of the season. So, I think that there was some impact along those lines. And I don't think that NC State is going to be able to replicate that tomorrow.
Well, he definitely saw some different looks. He saw some different fronts. He saw some different coverages, stuff that he's never really seen in a game before, which may have made him hesitate, may have made him a little off, those kinds of things. But again, I don't see that getting him twice. It's like, what's the saying? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, I don't think he's going to get fooled twice. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be ready for whatever NC State wants to throw at him. And I don't see it being much of an issue.
Yeah, Irish for Life 99 says CJ missed some receivers and he wasn't that pressured. Well, I mean,
it's not physical pressure, like in his face kind of pressured. It's the manner in which they were lining up. It's the manner in which they were bringing heat from different places. They were backing out of it. They were doing some complex things.
Giving him a lot different looks that he hasn't seen as a guy making
pressure.
A start. Yeah, exactly.
It's mental pressure, not necessarily physical pressure.
Right. You can second guess yourself a little bit. Like, am I reading this right? Am I doing this right? Am I going to the right place because of what you said, the way they line up and dropping guys and doing different things like that. So it's not always just literal pressure.
Right.
It's essentially Al Golden type stuff, confusing, especially a young quarterback. That's one of the things that Al Golden did so well that Chris Ash has not been able to replicate so far, regardless of if the coverage is better. He doesn't have the same level of confusion and chaos as Al Golden's defenses were able to bring.
No, completely agree. And I think that if you ask CJ, he'll say, no, I missed some receivers. Like, I do think he would say that because that's the kind of quarterback that he is. And he was upset with the way that he played on Saturday and all of those things. He's going to tell you that he missed guys that he should hit, which is one of the reasons I don't think he's going to miss those guys this week.
I agree. I would agree with that. So your biggest concern then?
I think my biggest concern, honestly, is overconfidence. I don't want this team in general to be overconfident. Like, they need to be locked in and game out the rest of the way, right? And I this is kind of a generic comment that I would feel for every game moving forward. Are they looking towards USC, for example? You know what I mean? Like, NC State has lost some games that you're like, they've had some turnovers where you're like, maybe this isn't the NC State team that we thought that they were, but they can't take them lightly. They've got to go into this thing focused, Don't be overconfident, like that kind of a thing. Like that's my biggest worry. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but week in and week out, that's going to be my thought. Don't go in overconfident. Go in there, play your game, and you're going to be successful.
Yeah, like some level of complacency. I really don't feel like this team is in that place because there were, like momentum is something that has come up a couple of times this week with Marcus Freeman, and they're building some definite positive momentum. Like, I wouldn't want to see them get down to the 1 yard line again on their first drive and be held out of the end zone again, because then I think maybe you start to play a little bit tighter after that, and those kind of things happen. Like that's the biggest thing is if something like that, if like you make a mistake or two early on, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but some level of complacency combined with that. But it feels like this team, again, like the mindset that they have is in the right place and it's starting to roll in the right direction. I don't think they'll be looking forward, looking ahead to USC next week, but they are young guys and a lot of them are going through this thing for the first time. So that would be my biggest thing, is just whatever level of complacency they might have.
Yes, 100%.
Andre wants to know, what in this game is more important for the offense, points or style of play?
Between those two, I would say style of play, because sometimes points don't necessarily dictate what kind of a game it was. You can look back and you can see how things were executed. You can see how things are going. What if they have another crew that's going to throw 24 flags? You know what I mean? Like that can affect points and not necessarily style of play. So in this particular, if you're only giving me those two options, I would say style of play. I would say style of play.
I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you win by scoring points. So I've got to go with the points.
Okay.
Like no matter how they get it. And I think that offensively they'll be able to get some. My question is, will they hit a special teams play or two? Will they get, I think we're going to see some more turnovers caused by this defense. And that's like, again, one of the more exciting things about the defense is that is starting to come.
Yeah.
And so I just go with points, because the more you score, the better. And I think that regardless of how you get there, I do want to see a team that out physicals NC State. I think Marcus Freeman wants to see that as well. So from that aspect, yeah, that's important. But I think to me it's points,
which makes perfect sense.
I think they can win in whatever fashion they want, especially from the offensive side of the ball.
From a national perspective, people aren't going to be watching this game. They're going to be watching. There's some other more high profile games going on at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And so people are going to be looking at the box score. Points make a big difference. I have a hard time not looking at football like a coach and looking at it kind of from a big picture and like the offensive, philosophy and like that kind of stuff. And so that's why I go with style of play. You know what I mean? Because does that mean that this team is getting better and better and better offensively, like that kind of a thing? But I see your point 100%. We want points.
Yeah.
We want lots of points. We want
at the end of the day, all anybody's going to see is the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Like Dustin is saying, no one's really going to be watching this game.
I agree.
In Notre Dame.
And it's on Peacock. It's on Peacock.
Very true. Even better point. Werewolf wants to know how much Oregon smashes Indiana by.
Man. So the spread last time I checked last night when we did the spread option show was 6.5. And I would take the Ducks and I would give the points. So I think it's going to be at least a touchdown.
Well, Vince hates Kurt Signetti. The on my app this morning it was 7.5. Okay. I like Indiana to cover in this game.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're going to win outright, but I've got a pretty good feeling about them as well. I mean, they're I'll just leave it at that. Bobby and I are going to talk more, and I know you've got to get going.
Ooh.
So
no, that's okay. I think there's going to be a little bit of a wake up call for Hoosier Nation at about.
I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I think it's going to be a touchdown game either way.
Bryan said IU's going to win outright, so there you go.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And he also said Texas is going to beat Oklahoma, so he's riding. Although I think Texas is technically favored, which is crazy talk, but.
And that in that game, who the favorite is, like typically like the underdog usually wins, it seems like. But Mateer is going to be back. We'll see how his hand is and how healthy he is, and that's ultimately Oklahoma is going to go as far as Mateer takes them this year when it comes down to it. So I would take Oklahoma in that game actually myself.
Me too.
All right, Vince. Well, enjoy your night out there and enjoy some football this weekend. I will talk to you later, my friend.
You know it, baby. High school football. Here we come.
All right. He's Vince DeDario. Bobby Hensley joins me next. We've got a slew of topics coming up in the second hour in rapid fire and some other stuff coming on as well. That's coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Rolling through the 5 o'clock hour, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. My third co-host of the hour, Bobby Hensley, is here.
Everyone's that tired of you that
I know.
Nobody wants to spend the whole day with you.
Can't keep a co-host.
The whole day being
What's
2
going
hours.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of a sprint, though. Driskell started the show. Vince was in for the second part. Now, smiley Bobby Hensley is here. Did you watch more playoffs or football last night?
It's about split, actually. There's a lot of good of both. That's what I was going to say. It feels like a playoff baseball game. You're bringing in your third pitcher in the first hour.
Oh, man. I tell you what, did you watch the end of the Phillies-Dodgers game?
Yeah.
I didn't really think about this until after the fact. Who had the worst Philly night? The Eagles or Orion Kerkering throwing that ball away in the 11th inning to end the game and give the Dodgers the series win?
Well, obviously, ending your season's how the worst part of any.
True.
The Flyers also lost last night.
Oh, because people care about that. Yes.
Well, Philly fans are looking
not
for
a good
anything
night
to be
for
happy
Philly.
about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Did the Sixers play last night?
No, maybe they probably lost their preseason game too. No, that pitcher throwing the ball, which is his job. He's paid to throw the ball to home plate.
He had no chance of getting that ball. He was not going to get that out at the plate no matter what, and he just airmails it. I don't know what that arm slot that he's got, that he was going to make a much better throw to first base because he rushed himself so much.
That's what I was going to say. He put himself in an impossible situation, and it was also kind of annoying seeing on Facebook today. A lot of people were putting, did you see the runner didn't touch home plate? And it's like, well, you didn't watch the game then because he went back and touched it.
I was going to say, you could see him in the replay going back to touch it. Yeah, he didn't touch it the first time, but he went back, and he had all the time in the world because everyone just kind of stopped and wasn't doing anything after the ball went back to the backstop.
Right. Yeah, it was just funny to see people that didn't watch the game that posted just to get some likes. And I do see the chat. They're all happy I'm wearing Notre Dame today.
Oh, you are, aren't you?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that because you've always got such being very Bobby Hensley, you're always cutting against the grain with different gear. You had a North Carolina hat on the other day. You've had a Texas hat on before. How many are you like a lot of hats? Do you literally have a lot of hats in your collection?
Yeah, I try to match colors. I like having hats, but I usually save the Notre Dame stuff for Saturday to bring good luck to them. So I thought, let's move it to Friday, get the vibe started early. Got a whole nother Notre Dame outfit for tomorrow.
Very true. We were talking about the Oklahoma-Texas game. Vince and I were in the last segment, and Stymie is asking if Mateer is playing. That's what I heard today, that John Mateer is going to be playing for Oklahoma. So that's, whether they get to the game and something changes, the word that I've heard is Mateer is going to play for the Sooners.
Well, does it matter? Texas' season's done. Oklahoma's the only one got something to play for.
I mean, it is a rivalry game, so I would hope it would matter.
Well, I don't want to get too much into Texas because then people will get mad at me again. But it's like you said, every time they play this game, whoever's the underdog seems to ruin the other one's season. So maybe it's a good omen for Texas.
Even some lopsided games with the underdog winning, it seems like.
Yeah, there's been some 38-0s in there.
Yeah.
You never really know what's going to happen in the old Cotton Bowl.
Irish for Life 99 wants to know if we'll be out at the IB tailgate. I just found out about it today, and I'm going to try to swing by there tomorrow once I find out from Bryan where it's going to be. Just depends. Got big plans. Big Saturday planned.
Yeah,
might have to hit Home Depot in the morning.
Are you? What's your big Saturday? I was going to say.
Bigger deal, though, last night. Didn't touch on the football game last night. Giants just burying the Eagles. Bigger deal. Giants winning or the Eagles losing?
Probably, I think the Eagles losing because they hadn't lost in 365 days. And now they have back-to-back losses. And before they started losing, they were already having some turmoil within the team with the receivers.
I think it was wasn't it like 20 consecutive starts that Jalen Hurts had made? Like when he started and finished the game, they had won before last week, and now they've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah. Which, I mean, now is when you want to lose them so you can fix it. And
I'm doing cartwheels inside right now.
I was just going to say, this speaks to the Cowboy fan in you, doesn't it?
But did you see Were there any Jalen Hurts defenders last night with some of the horrible decisions he was making, some of the horrible throws he was making, and with guys like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown on the field, he still can't complete passes, and these morons want to tell me that sorry, Sportsman Philly 22, but these people want to tell me that Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. You saw case in point last night why he is not. He doesn't make good decisions. Their offense is basic, and look where they are right now.
Basic is putting it nicely. How about this? Who had a better night? Who would you rather? I mean, I know the outcome, but Jackson Dart or Jalen Hurts?
Would have rather had Jackson Dart last night.
Yeah, you should have started him in fantasy.
You're right about that, Bobby. Right about that. Bobby and I, after the show last night, I had picked up Jackson Dart last week because I've got Lamar Jackson. And so I needed a, kind of a spot start. And he was like 19 points or something like that. I was worried about the matchup with Philly's defense last night. Bobby's like, I think you need to just go a different direction. So 26 points for a replacement quarterback is what he would have been worth in my league. That wouldn't have been a bad night.
No, but you can still pick up Flacco, I'm sure.
Oof. I got Sam Darnold. I'll see how it goes.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks.
What place are you in your league?
Thanks again. I'm actually in second place right now.
Hey, you can afford a loss. Consider it your bye week.
Got one loss right now. All right. Wanted to mention, did you see Sister Jean passed away?
Yeah.
That was sad. 106 years old. She was World War I. That would have been old. World War I was still going on when Sister Jean was born. Amazing. 106.
Yeah. It's awesome that she was able to do so much. And every year you'd see these posts of her still doing stuff at 100, 101. It's one of those where it's sad to see her go, but then you look back on her life and you think that she did a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. Great life. And what's his name? The Loyola Chicago, Porter Mosier. Did you see the tweet that he had? Really nice post that he made about Sister Jean.
No, but that's good to see. It is good that it was so spry and that they got that long run to the Final Four when she was there.
Rapid fire coming up in hour number 2. We've got plenty of Notre Dame talk and more coming up in rapid fire in the 6 o'clock hour here on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Yeah, there it is. Sean
Oh,
Stires.
you got it in.
Bobby Hensley, hour 2, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com, and that can mean only one thing. Bobby, are you ready for some rapid fire?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's rapid.
Let's rapid. Let's fire. Fill in the blank. It's blank that this week's Notre Dame NC State game will only be televised on the Peacock streaming service.
There's a lot of ways to look at this. I'll use the word frustrating, but I guess the other word I was thinking about was understandable, because there's going to be money made by Peacock and Notre Dame from it, because people are going to pay to watch one game. I mean, people will subscribe to Irish Breakdown, for example, or anything Notre Dame will make money. So I understand why they do it. It's understandable, but it's frustrating because in this day and time, there's just make it easy to watch games. It's so hard already. There's so many networks. You were talking to me yesterday off the air about baseball and how hard it is to catch all the games.
Yeah.
Somewhere on that Fox Sports 1, Fox. It just would be nice if it was just concise, easy to find, and you can shuffle around on your guide. But now when you have to go to Peacock to get to change the channel, you got to go out of Peacock. It's just a pain.
That's the I think, to me, like, if you're sitting home and you're watching the game, okay, it's fine. But you can't pause the game the same way. You know, like if something happens and you need to, you know, whether it's just go to the restroom or, you know, whatever, you know, go grab your nachos or the doorbell rings and, you know, somebody's like, whatever, the pause function, the forward function, all those different things on the streaming service are not the same as, you know, like if you've got a DVR and your cable and stuff like that, and the functionality of the remote and the forward and back, you know, like all those options. Like if I record, you know, because like even like when we do what we do now, this is different, but other people still record games and watch them as well. You go back and the fast forward function on the streaming thing is not the same as your DVR. Like I can get to within 3 seconds of where I need to be when I'm forwarding or going in reverse on my DVR. You're all over the place. You have no idea where you are with the Peacock. Yeah. Or, you know, not the Peacock, the streaming services.
And I wish you wouldn't even say it's not the same. You're correct, but it's worse. It's just so much worse. It's almost unusable. You have to stop and guess where you are and check and then be like, oh, do I remember this play? Where was this? And you look at the clock for the game clock to see what's going on. And another problem is I just don't think they promoted enough on like socials and stuff. If you're going to have a game that's a standalone game on an app, make it a good game is my one thing, but then also promote it. Like show all the time, hey, only Peacock only, because now also what you're going to have is a flux of people trying to get Peacock at 3:00 in the afternoon tomorrow.
Exactly. And then, you know, what's the bandwidth look like? And yeah, all those different things. And then, you know, just watching the game itself for people who are sitting home watching, and like we're live tweeting at the stadium, the media during the game. Well, there's going to be a lag because of the fact that it's streaming. So that happens every time there's a streaming game, and people are like, oh, you're tweet, you know, like, so do I, Bobby, as someone, because I don't tweet a ton during the game, but there'll be some times I'll tweet something, and obviously other people do as well. Do we owe it to people sitting at home watching on TV to hold off 10 to 15 seconds on our tweets before we tweet something when we're live tweeting during the game?
Well, that's twofold, because you're so old. By the time you get the tweet out, it's probably already been 15, 20 seconds.
Okay.
And to be completely honest, if you tweet something and somebody sees it, and then they can look up and watch it, I guess, live on their stream. So good for you. But yeah, I think it's fair. Just it's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler when they're 2 minutes behind reality because they're watching it on a stream.
I think that most Notre Dame fans have gotten used to this by now, because this is what, year 5 or something like that, where there's been, you know, a game exclusively on Peacock, year 5 or 6 or whatever it is. So they're used to the fact that you have to do it. And like from the aspect of, if you need to pay for the subscription, you pay, and then you cancel the subscription the next day. Obviously what Peacock is hoping is they get the churn and people, you know, forget to cancel and all, you know, all that different kind of stuff. So it's been funny since this Big Ten deal with NBC began, because a lot of those Big Ten games are on the Peacock app as well. And it's been funny watching the Big Ten fans get ticked off about it.
It is. And the thing also, not only is it tough to hit pause or risk where you're going to join back. It feels like if you don't refresh your feed, it slips a little and you don't notice. So by like the third or fourth quarter, you might be an extra 2 minutes behind real time. And if you live close enough to the stadium, you're going to hear the cheers.
That's true.
And you're like, well, I don't know what's going on. They're at the 50-yard line, But so the Big Ten stuff's funny. That I don't know how much money they make off of this, just the Peacock only standalone games. It has to be enough that they keep trying it. They keep firing away.
I mean, it's part of the deal now.
Right.
From Notre Dame's perspective, there's going to be one game on there every year. I don't think that again, they've done this for a while. We've never seen the ratings for a Peacock game, which tells you
they're not great.
That the ratings are not great, because anytime the numbers are even somewhat good, TV networks can't wait to tell you about what the ratings are. And again, we've never seen any ratings published for any of these Notre Dame games on Peacock.
And you can correct me, but how many teams have specific app game only? Like they're here and there, but none of the national big teams.
Well, the Big 12, part of their deal has been with ESPN Plus, and I don't know how that's changed with the new ESPN app and all that kind of stuff. But I know there are, because my dad, I hear it from him all the time when he's trying to watch Kansas or Kansas State or whatever, and it's like, I got the ESPN Plus app, and so everyone gets ticked off about that. So there are at least there are plenty that are on the streamers. I mean, the streamers want more of it. I think the schools, if the money is right, they'll take it. The other thing that's frustrating about it, again, this is if you're sitting home watching it, is the fact that, and I think you brought this up when we were talking about some of the baseball when we were talking the other day, you can't flip back and forth to other games once you're in the app. You have to go through the whole process of leaving the app and then getting back into the app, wait for the buffering to kick back in again and the game to start up. Whereas if you're watching on your regular TV, you got 3 or 4 games going on at the same time. You could just bounce around and see what's going on. You can't do that when you're watching on an app.
Well, and I think that the Peacock stuff, to be very clear, I think they're trying to pull away from local affiliates as a whole. So they're trying to make Peacock a standalone app, not just an extension of NBC. They want to be the NBC so they can get rid of the cut the cord. That's fine. You have to buy us to see any of the NBC programming.
Right.
So I'm surprised they don't have a Sunday Night Football streaming on Peacock only game here or there, or Cowboys. I know they pull good ratings. So like a game with
I was going to say NBC, as you know, gets monster ratings for those Sunday night games, especially when the Cowboys or whoever, the big name teams are on. The Cowboys or the Chiefs are the two big ratings getters right now.
But you could easily put one of those on a Peacock only app, and then all of a sudden people have to go get Peacock. And then if they stagger it right, it's 5 weeks after the Notre Dame game. So now you're hooked in for another month to watch something like that.
But you do have the Thursday night games on Amazon as it is. So, we do have at least one. Netflix wants in badly. I'll be shocked if we don't see Netflix in the picture with some kind of package in the very near future.
But that's what kind of sucks, though, is if you want to watch all the NFL games, you're going to have to get Amazon, you're going to have to get Peacock or whatever. You're going to have to pay for your cable. You're going to have Netflix. You're going to have enough cable or streaming subscriptions that would be costing more than cable.
Dustin says if he wants to watch multiple games, he just puts it on the laptop. That is an option. But as someone who has multiple big screen TVs in my
That's
house,
not what you want.
I don't want to watch on a tiny laptop screen or my phone. I want it up on a big screen in front of my face so I can see it. Let me ask you this. Is there anything you would do to improve the Peacock viewing experience? And I'm talking specifically for Notre Dame football viewers.
Yep. I think there's something they could do for every game that I don't know why they haven't delved into more. It's like having a alt cast like the Mannings.
I've been saying this forever. I don't know if, I've been saying it long enough that you and I have talked about this before, but I completely agree with that sentiment.
And I don't know who you'd pick, but I'm saying like if you can get like Jerome Bettis, who's a very fun guy,
be a good one,
marketable, a Golick, something like that, or even Collinsworth went to Notre Dame. If he could host it and you bring a different guest in for every game, if you could have some ties to the opponent,
that would actually be, because they tried Jack Collinsworth as a play-by-play guy for a while. Like if you had Jack Collinsworth, because he is a Notre Dame grad and he still works for NBC, and then you bring in, like you said, Jerome Bettis or whoever, it would, and like a revolving
Could rotate.
Yeah. Like Collinsworth would be more of a host, so it would have a different feel depending on who you put in there. I've always said the Golics make perfect sense. Now, Junior is doing some games for like TBS or TNT that, cut like college. I think it's like a Big 12 package or something like that. So he's not as available right now. But this has been a few years back. I felt like the Golics made perfect sense. They both went to Notre Dame. They both got a lot of media experience. Golick Sr., obviously, with the ESPN and Mike and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of different guys that you could put in there, like former players and things like that you could do. I think now you would have to pay him, so how much NBC/Peacock wants to pay some extra personalities to do it? I think that would be the question.
With the right amount of money, I can fix all the problems.
That's right. That's right.
You could bring in the guy if you have the money.
I'm perfectly willing to spend other people's money.
But Brady Quinn would be a great add to something like that.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to leave the Fox gig that he has.
But then you could bring in rotating people. Like you could have Montana for a quarter or a half or something, or one game, and then the next game have somebody else.
Yeah.
And just keep rotating through. And I think that would make it, even on the games that are on NBC, having this alt cast that just lives on Peacock only, it might be a fun addition. Because like the Mannings, that's wonderful television. I watch that more than I do the normal feed. I mean, I don't really like Buck and Aikman, but
see, I do like Buck and Aikman, so I don't watch as much of the Manning cast as a lot of people. That actually came up at Jesse's wedding last week. Some people were talking about, I love the Manning cast, It's okay.
That's
cool.
I think they're good, but again, this would be the key to the Peacock one as well for Notre Dame. Who's the guest that they bring in?
Right.
Because that would make the difference. But then like if you're playing USC and you can bring in a USC guy to just chit chat and have that, back and forth rapport, that would be kind of fun. I think that'd be fun. I think that'd be better than watching, especially if it's a blowout game. That's the other thing about college. There's a lot more blowout games.
But the thing is, the biggest criticism that Notre Dame fans have, I mean, Notre Dame games have been on NBC for 30 years now. And the biggest criticism Notre Dame fans have is these broadcasts are not Notre Dame enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've got broadcast TV and you've got, all these games are on both. They're on both NBC and on the app. So why not just make the app the alt broadcast and then have all the Notre Dame flavor that you want in there? That seems like that would fix a lot. Now, I've got even an easier solution. I still like the alt broadcast. They haven't shown any, inkling that's going to happen anytime soon. Have you watched any of the Major League Baseball games on the Apple streamer?
I've watched some. Are you talking about their like in-depth stats stuff?
No, they've got alternate audio options. So like they have on Apple for the Major League Baseball broadcast, for every game that they have, you can select, you go to your settings and you can listen to either of the home team radio broadcasts during the game. And it is synced up with the video. And then the commercial breaks come, they're still showing you the TV commercials. They just dump out of the radio, but then when the game resumes, you're back to the radio broadcast. So if you're a Tigers fan, you can listen to the Tigers broadcast. Right. If you're a Yankees fan, you can listen to the Yankees. That would be the perfect solution, it seems like, as like Notre Dame flavor. So you just have the Notre Dame radio call synced up in Peacock as an alternate listening option. You can either have the TV announcers or you click a couple buttons and boom, you've got the Notre Dame radio network right there as the audio with the same video up on the screen.
I guess I've never really thought about that, but that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
And that way, like I say, I just need something that's different than a normal broadcast. Like make it feel special. Make it feel like this is why I would pay for this. Because you're paying for it.
Yeah.
And you're right. That would make it kind of cool. And then like, even if Notre Dame's trouncing like if they're beating USC by 50, you could listen to the USC broadcasters, and that would almost make it more fun to just listen to them grovel about themselves and how unhappy they are. Sometimes that makes it more fun too.
Fill in the blank. Saturday's game against NC State is about blank for Notre Dame.
Winning. I think every game is winning. They got to win. They got to look good. So maybe it's about the eye test, because NC State has a winning record and they have a win over a ranked team. So, or they were at the time, Virginia. So when you look at that they they need to look good against any team that has a winning record, because some of their games coming up might not have that. So, but winning and then the eye test would be about what this game's about.
To me, I think we're at the point now where this game, you said eye test, this game, Notre Dame, NC State, we're in style points range right now.
Points.
I think next week, Notre Dame, USC, I don't think that's as much, but I think basically you take USC out, every other game is going to be about style points for Notre Dame. And, Andre kind of asked a similar question in the first hour. Is this about style of play? Is this about points? You obviously want as many points as possible, and that kind of plays into style points. And like when I say style points, I'm talking about margin of victory, not like a sloppy squeaker of a game. I'm talking about a game where you win pretty comfortably, you score a pretty good amount of points, and you're not giving up a bunch of points defensively. So that's what I think it's about.
You want a game where you can turn it off in the third quarter and get off the Peacock app? Is that what you're wanting?
Well, I'll be at the game, so I won't be watching on the Peacock app, but I see what you're saying.
No, I agree. Another way to look at it, I would say, is continued momentum, because they have looked so good on both sides of the ball the last couple weeks. You just want to continue that. I think that they're in a spot where they're gaining so much attention again, and you can't, if they win out, you can't deny them that they look like they're a top 10 team. Like that was what you said yesterday. I was thinking about it more and more, and I'm like, they are a top 10 team if they keep playing and showing what they can show.
Exactly.
It sucks that they don't have enough data points back, and they didn't lose by much. So I think continued momentum is another way to look at the game. You need the eye test, as you're saying, or the style points, but just continued momentum. Keep getting Carr looking more and more comfortable, because the game is not quicker than he is. Like, he's fine with it. I think that he's the one that I just want to see him continue as a first-year starter to keep establishing himself, and the defense looking better too. So I just think that both sides of the ball, we just need that momentum.
Dustin says, and execution. And I think that's part true. Of like what I'm talking about with style points, because if you execute right, all that stuff is going to fall into place.
I saw the violence one too. That's kind of funny.
The bloody violence.
That's what we want. Violence.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
It means playing football, Bobby.
Yeah.
Come on.
Big Ten football in the trenches.
Yeah. Can this game be considered a trap game?
Maybe. I think you guys said earlier it wasn't, but if you're going to ask me, I think it is, because USC is probably their most marquee game on the schedule. This game is against a power conference team that has a winning record. So it'd be easy to trip yourself looking ahead to USC. I don't think it'll happen, but I could see why there is some logic to think that it would.
See, this, I agree with this from Swandong. It would have been before the first two losses. Yes. And I think that that's a good point. It just feels like they're in do or die mode with every game now. So I think that the trap game stuff fell off. Like, okay, you were coming off Boise State, a playoff team last year, your biggest rival, USC, and you've got North Carolina State in the middle. It just feels like where they are, they know that every week is do or die now for the rest of the season if they want to get into the playoffs. But they've got to, like the whole coaches cliches, you got to be focused on this game. You can't be thinking about the future and all that different kind of stuff. But that's why it just feels like, I don't think it's a trap game, because they know what's on the line with every game, just like last year.
Watching them play the last few weeks has been fun to watch them. They've just been relaxed,
a lot
playing,
more fun, and
just it's fun to watch football. But I guess the thing that makes me think it's going to be a trap game potentially, they're 22.5 point favorite, I think it was, on the spread. Every game starts out 0-0. Like, obviously, but if you go a couple possessions in and you're not
Coach.
up by 7 to 10 points already, you might start to get tight.
Do you pucker up a little bit?
And now you're like, oh, and then it's too late. The other team's getting momentum. Maybe you're down. And then how do we get back? What do we fix? And now you're in. So that's, I get scared.
That's probably, you're probably right. That's the bigger trap, when you are favored by as much. And then there are automatic expectations. Do you start off fast? Do you make a mistake early on? And all of a sudden, are you down 7-0 or, something like that? Like that game last week, obviously was pretty close for most of the first half before things started to finally kind of get on track in Notre Dame's favor. But again, Boise State's defense, a lot better than the defense they're going to see tomorrow.
I think the most impressive start for me this season was how they started against Arkansas, because that was a big opponent. And if they got tight there, or they only won that game by a couple points, it would have been a little scary. But the fact that they start so good and they've just looked relaxed, you get a relaxed vibe watching them. So I know I saw that.
Bobby's deep thoughts. We'll take a break. When we come back, we've got more rapid fire, including some comments from Marcus Freeman on the 5-for-5 proposal. What's that? We will tell you next when we continue Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Rapid Fire with Bobby Hensley, Sean Stires. You know what's fun, Bobby, is I wish we could sometimes continue the conversations we have off the air, on the air.
Do you?
That would be the fun stuff.
Well, I feel like you scale back sometimes. Wait, I don't think we have enough bleep buttons for that.
Yeah, for you, potty mouth. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Hey, nobody's perfect. We just do our best.
That's right.
Yeah, no, we have some good talks. Sometimes they lead to on-air stuff. Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So the NCAA is considering legislation to go to a 5 years to play 5 seasons of eligibility for college athletes rather than the current 5 years to play 4 seasons. Marcus Freeman was asked about it in his end of the week media call yesterday. Here's what he had to say about the 5-for-5 proposal.
5-for-5, I think it's great for young people to be able to play 5 years, to not worry about redshirt. It helps us.
I will try this again. I forgot that. Here we go.
The 5-for-5, I think it's great for young people to be able to play 5 years, to not worry about redshirt. It helps us as coaches really not consider, okay, can they only play 4 games? Can we not play this guy 1 play in a game? And it just allows you to just play. I think each institution will have to kind of look at what the scholarships entail. Like, is it through graduation? Most scholarships are, tied to the graduation, right? In terms of, 4 years to get a degree. And so I think each school will have to kind of look at that, or maybe the NCAA will come up with a rule in terms of how long the scholarship is tied to the 5 years. And so I think there's a lot of things that are going to have to be worked out, but for young people and really for coaches, I think it's a great thing.
All right, there you go. So that's what Marcus Freeman had to say about it. Bobby, what do you think about the idea? So you're getting rid of red shirts. There would be no more red shirting. And instead of only playing 4 seasons with potential red shirts, like getting you that 5th year, everyone would come in with 5 years of eligibility, and you've got five years to play those 5 seasons. Obviously, now injuries would get you some extra time and those kind of things. But in general, 5-for-5. Do you like this idea?
The way Freeman said it was pretty articulate, and I enjoy the way he said it.
As usual, right?
Yeah, that was pretty smooth. I disagree completely with the whole idea. I think
Okay.
don't call them student athletes anymore then, because a student should go to school for 4 years, get their degree. That's part of the deal. So giving them a 5th year, you're encouraging them to slow down their education. So I don't.
Well, yeah, because like in Notre Dame's case, they have sped up because of the whole graduation rates and stuff like that. That's why all these football players, they come in with a 3-year track to get their degree, whereas, you've got other schools that aren't even worried about degrees. North Carolina, they're not worried about football now either, apparently. But yeah, so.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, if you make up your own degree, it still counts. But no, like I say, so now you're also telling high school students don't take any college classes because you have to milk it for 5 years. You're telling them don't come into school in an early semester to get involved on campus because that could hurt you later because we can't use you that semester. I don't like any of it. I don't understand why like a league like the XFL doesn't just do 18 to 22-year-olds, and at the end of that, you age out. Just call them professional athletes.
Because you got to pay them. You got to find the
Exactly.
money. You got to have fans who are interested, and there are obviously a lot more fans interested in college football, college basketball than they're going to be in the USFL or whatever else.
Right. I just don't. Well, if you took all of the top recruits and could get them, that would. But I know it's impossible. It's just this is impossible. How many students would stay at the same school for 5 years? And that hurts it too. That's what I don't understand. And if you're good enough after 5 or 4 years, you're going to go pro like they do after 3 years. So all of it just, I don't understand the 5. If you have a 5-year athlete at your college for the whole time, he's probably not that good.
A lot of this has to do with NIL is what this comes down to. This is, and like the fact that the NCAA opened up the can of worms when they did the COVID exemption, and they just gave carte blanche and everyone had the 5 years of eligibility. But this is about, some of these athletes have tried to argue as they've tried to stay in school for an extra year. It's like, I just got to the point where I was making some money at this, and now my eligibility is over with. And I think that that's kind of what this comes down to. So by giving everyone the 5th year, even the guys who aren't going to go play in the NFL or the NBA or the WNBA, whatever sport it happens to be, Major League Baseball, by giving them the blanket 5 years, you're giving them a longer window for earning power so they can stay in school, And, in many cases, it gives them incentive to stay in school because they have a chance, to make some pretty good money if they're, like a good but not great NFL type prospect who could also still potentially turn into an NFL prospect if they finish off their career right. So I personally like it. Again, I think this is largely due to NIL. But Josh is asking, so they are passing that. Well, it still has to be voted on, but it seems like it's gaining momentum. The question is, like what I have seen in the last day or so on this, is there are coaches and some administrators who are saying, if this is going to happen for next year, this needs to be approved
now
as soon as possible because you have roster management issues that you have to start figuring out.
And I guess I get all that point. The NIL, I think this would be better for all the athletes of those Olympic sports and stuff that might be making a little NIL money.
Yeah.
Because once you get done with your college, like pole vaulters aren't going to make money, but maybe they make some in college. So that would be better for all those sports. For football, I'm questioning how it would change the recruiting model, because now you're going to get a guy for 5 years when most of the coaches in football don't even last 5 years at a college or institution.
Yeah.
The top level, they're not recruiting as much on the high school level anyway. So you're taking all the guys that you would pluck out of the MAC or somewhere that's overperforming. So stuff like that, I guess it would give you, instead of having them for their 4th year and just one and done, like a Sam Hartman or something like that, you could get 2 years out of them because you have a 5th year.
Yeah.
That's where it would be more beneficial. But the idea of having a 5-year guy at the one institution, I don't see. And then,
and that's like you say, 5-year at one institution, because I think you brought this up before. I think because of this, this would be the biggest headache, because of the fact that now you don't have red shirts and you're not preserving a year of eligibility. So, like, if you're a freshman and you're not playing, well, you can say, well, okay, this is my red shirt year. I can play up to 4 games. I get to keep the year of eligibility, and then I've still got 4 more years to play. Well, doing it this way, 5 for 5, there aren't going to be any red shirt years. So you might sit your freshman year and you might still barely play your sophomore year. How much are you getting on the field? And now your window is shrinking because you're not going to be granted an extra year at the end because you didn't play early on. And so I think that it's going to lead to potentially more transfers earlier in guys' careers because they're going to be ticked off earlier that they're not playing. It's like, I got to go find some place to play because my window is only shrinking for the rest of my career.
Yeah, but then, like I say, then too, you're slowing down the education. I know that's not their thought. They don't care about grades or books. But then, okay, so where does it stop? In 15 years, are we going to talk about giving guys a 6th year maybe on a scholarship? Because, 5 doesn't seem like enough, because nowadays they're staying 3 and getting 2. Why shouldn't they be able to do 3 and 3? And
let me ask you this. What do you think about the whole Diego Pavia thing? Do you remember that with the junior college? And, he got this extra year granted because he played at a junior college first in New Mexico and then, went to New Mexico and then ended up at Vanderbilt, and they granted him an extra year because he argued that the junior college years shouldn't have counted. Do you like should that
Sure.
count against a player's Division I eligibility, those junior college years?
I guess I can see. I don't think so. I don't think that should count. That's not NCAA, right? They're sanctioned on their own.
I agree with that.
So I don't think it should count. So it's the same as if you go to the military out of high school and then enroll when you're a little bit older.
I mean, it's almost like a prep school because
Right.
that's what a lot of these guys have to do is get their grades right and then hope that they can get accepted to a Division I. Yeah.
I don't think that their chance at playing football at a high level should be stopped because they went a different route. So I'm okay with them giving a year for that. It's the same thing. It's just practicing in the yard or playing pickup games. Kind of.
Yeah.
You're just playing on your own in your different way. That's not NCAA football. That's not Division I football. So that's okay. But then again, I just don't know where you can stop that line, because now as it is, COVID's a problem. The red shirting 4 games, that's a quarter of the season, which is wild. I think that's almost too big of a number. I just don't know where you stop it.
It's actually a third. Get your math right.
Well, it depends how many games you play. But yeah, no, either way, it's a good number. I just don't know. And then with the injury stuff, it seems like you get guys, it goes to a panel that decides if you get that year or not already. So
yeah, but again, now you don't have to worry about that if you go for this 5 for 5. You don't have to worry about all those exemptions and everything else. It's just, here's your 5-year window. Do with it what you will.
Are you sure Arby's doesn't have it trademarked, the 5 for 5?
Can I get a side of horsey sauce with that?
Oh, God.
Best condiment in the world, little horsey sauce. We'll take our final timeout. We've got some Notre Dame NC State game props that we're going to get to when we return and wrap things up. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat and Rapid Fire with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire. With Bobby Hensley, I'm Sean Stires. Did you see, Bobby, the NFL is initiating a review on the concussion protocol for Jackson Dart from last night's game?
I didn't see that. That thing's so inconsistent to begin with.
I don't think it's a good look for Brian Daboll, for the head coach, to be going over there and all animated and, like yelling at people about get him out of the concussion. Like, you're the head coach. You have to let them do their thing. It is like you cannot be involved in trying to influence the medical staff and getting your quarterback back on the field. That's why they have the concussion protocol, to avoid this kind of stuff.
And if I'm right, that medical staff for the concussion, they're third party, correct?
Correct.
So you got to let them do their job. They're the ones that have to clear them.
Yeah.
That might be a suspension for coaching for a week or two. There has to be some sanction coming out, because unless there's something that we didn't know, for him to be that animated on TV, on national TV, or standalone game anyway. It's not TV, it was Amazon.
Yeah, true.
I think you could see some sanctions out of it.
ND Forever 72 in the YouTube chat wants to know what the 406 on my hat stands for. No, it is not the area code for the state of Montana.
Yeah.
That is, you see the decimal point on the wrong side of the hat. 406. That is Ted Williams. There's a Ted Williams logo there in the zero there. The last man to top 400.
Is it true that he was batting 399.5 or something going into the last day of season, and he had a doubleheader and he went 7 for 8 to get up to 406?
Yes, that's exactly right. He could have sat and actually
technically
the second game of in the first game of the doubleheader, he got above 400. Could have sat the second game, but he decided to play and ended up hitting 406 for the season.
You don't even see people taking runs at that anymore. Man, 300 is a big deal.
No kidding. George Brett, my guy, last guy who had a chance.
Larry Walker had a good run in
ago.
The 90s.
Yeah, I guess he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Forgot about that. All right, Notre Dame, NC State, some game props for tomorrow's game. Notre Dame's favored by 22.5. The over-under is 58.5. Where are you on those two numbers?
I think they're married to each other. I'm going to go over on both. I'm going to pull a Sean. He always goes over. Because
when in doubt, go over. Right?
Well, the thing is, if you bet the under, you're winning till you're not. If you bet the over, you're losing till you're not. But I think they'll go over. I think they'll win by more. I think that the over will hit. It's like you said earlier and all week, it's been the eye test. That's what we keep talking about. That term is going to get so overused. Style points, eye test.
Yep.
For the rest of the season, hopefully, because that means they're winning games. But to continue that trend, I think you got to win them. You got to put points up. I think it's going to look like it. I think their defense is looking better, so there should be a big gap, and I wouldn't be surprised if they clear both of those by pretty good margin.
I think so as well. Like the 22.5 might be close to that. I'm feeling at least like I'm in the 25-point range, so I'm comfortable in Notre Dame minus 22.5 and the over under of 58.5. I think that I don't think that Notre Dame will get to 58.5 by themselves, but I think that they'll probably get 90% of that. So I'm comfortable in the over there as well for the point total.
I was going to ask you, because you said earlier in the week, your question was over under 3.5 games, they get 50 points, I believe.
Yes.
So this is one that you think they'll get to.
This is one that I do think that they will get there.
So then you just need 10 points from NC State. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's doable.
And I think they'll get a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
What about CJ Carr's passing number? This becomes a tricky one because it always, look at last week. Pretty comfortable game, but he missed a couple of passes, didn't even get to 200 yards after he had the massive game a week before against Arkansas. But his number is 262.5 passing yards for this game.
I know I said over on everything, but that just seems a little high for me. I'm going to go under. I think there's just too many other guys that are going to run the ball with Bryce and with Love that they establish that and they keep gaining momentum every game. He doesn't have to throw that many yards for them to put up 50.
I'm thinking under, but at the same time, there's, a version of this game where CJ Carr, fairly similar to Arkansas, like if he just kind of toys with them and is just throwing the ball all over the place, where like he could have this by halftime for that matter. So I think I'm going to go over
You're going to take the over
Yes.
with $1 bet on it.
That's right.
Yeah, I just think there's just too much going on. I think they'll get there. I think that they might get a pick six or turnover that'll lead to points, maybe special teams. I don't think they're going to need him to throw. They don't need him to throw 265 yards to put up 50 and win this game tomorrow. So I don't think it'll happen.
Jeremiah Love's rushing number is 99.5. So is he going to get to 100? Jadarian Price is 73.5.
Oof. I'm going to put them both on the over for the exact reasons I was just saying.
I think I have to.
But you're going over on everybody again.
I am.
I think that they'll both comfortably get. Well, I think Love will be right at that number. That's a tough one, but I think Price will continue to show up. I think they'll collectively. I wouldn't be shocked if they have 250 yards or more.
Yeah, see, I am more comfortable in Price because Price has had more explosive runs this year. He's had the longer runs, so that has put him, like when you look at each game, Jadarian Price against Miami, he had a 30-yard run. He had a 24-yard run against Texas A&M, 21 against Purdue, 20 against Arkansas. He had the 49-yard run last week against Boise State. So, he's managed, again, we talked about this earlier in the week, the fact that he's carried the ball less, but he's within 80 yards of Jeremiah Love because of the fact that he's had the more explosive runs. Love just hasn't had, while he's been very consistent, you look at his long runs in comparison, an 8-yard run against Miami, 16 against A&M, had the 46-yard run against Purdue, 15 against Arkansas, 36 against Boise State. He just hasn't had the bigger run. So I feel like Price can get half of it or even 2/3 of it on one run to get to 73.5. Jeremiah Love, it's been a little bit more methodical this year. So I feel much more confident in Price, but I still like both of them to go over.
Yeah, you're right. Price has 2 yards a carry more than Love for an average. So I think that you're going to see Love, though, I think kind of in the fourth quarter, start running over people more, and he'll finally break one. So I can see him getting to 100. But I definitely think Price is an easy one to get to 75.
Okay, here are a bunch of receiving numbers for this game. Jordan Faison is 73.5. Malachi Fields 48.5. Jeremiah Love 24.5. Eli Raridan 28.5. Will Pauling 35.5. Which of those Notre Dame receivers are you more confident in going over their number?
I'm most confident with Fields going over his. What'd you say it was 48.5?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the easiest. I think that's the one that would entice me to bet.
Okay, this is dangerous because that's the one I'm the most confident in as well.
No. I'll go with anyone, but
again,
that one,
he could have one catch that in the 35 to 40 yard range, then all he needs is one more catch and he's going to be at 50 yards.
This is what I hate about the receiving ones. If he even catches a screen, sheds one tackle, he could get all those yards on one play. And that number just seems incredibly low for how his production's been so far this year. I can see him getting that pretty easily.
I agree. All the other guys, it is just Faison's number is way too big at 73.5.
Yeah, that one's a definite no.
Yeah, I would not touch that. Fields at 48.5 is very manageable. Jeremiah Love at 24.5. Again, you don't know what the distribution is going to look like. And then Raridan and Pauling have just kind of been supplemental pieces to the passing game.
Well, Fields is only 8 yards under him for the season. So that seems like a big gap for the over-under.
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it, Bobby. Joe is asking if I'm going to be at the IB tailgate tomorrow. Again, I just found out about it this afternoon, but I'm going to try to swing by. Bryan is supposed to let me know, once he posts what poll they're at and all that kind of stuff. So I do hope to swing by. So there'll be an Irish Breakdown tailgate out there. Look for Brian Driskell's Twitter, and you'll know where to go. Bobby, 3 days this week, man. I don't know. We survived it.
People are going to start thinking you like me or something.
Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you Monday. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.